Hey guys, I'm Kendra.
Hi, I'm Mercedes, and this week we're talking about the original Sandler-Barrymore rom-com, The Wedding Singer.
But first, listeners, welcome back to Musical Month. Make sure to get your
Yay!
musical fix from Meet Cute's April series called Extracurricular. But
Yeah.
of course, as always, Mercedes, we have to kick it off with our celebrity crush of the week. Who you crushing on this week?
Oh, Kendra. Jake Johnson. We know him best from New Girl. I am a diehard New Girl stan since the
Yes.
pilot release. I've been there through it all. I've rewatched it countless times. He plays Nick
Hmm.
Miller. Now he's in a new HBO show called Minx. It's described as a raunch com because it's raunchy. He plays like a I don't know, like a magazine publisher for a magazine that's a little more exposed, and and it's really good so far. I watched the first two episodes. I'm loving it. It's on
Okay.
HBO Max for anyone who wants to watch. It's really great. He looks beautiful in it. Very
Shout out
different than
Jake
Nick
Johnson.
Miller. Yeah.
He is very cute. He is very cute. Okay. So mine is the same as last week. Actually, I think it's gotten so much worse this past week since I told you. So Henning Mai, who is the lead singer of the German band Anime Right?
Yes.
I have just fallen so much more in love with him over the past week because I've been listening to all of their albums and just like looking up their lyrics in the English translation, and I feel like I've actually picked up some German from them
Ooh.
to the point that I was like, I've always wanted to learn a new language. My friend suggested her tutor to me, so I'm actually gonna start taking German classes starting next week. And
Oh
I
my
signed up for
gosh.
yeah, I signed up for 10 1-hour classes, and so I'm gonna be doing that over the next like 4 or 5 weeks, and hopefully I can become like conversational by the time I go to Germany in August because I'll be there for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And also, hopefully, I run into Henning. But
This is so exciting. Okay, I keep hearing that song on TikTok since you showed it to me. It's
Yep.
everywhere.
Yep, it
Yeah,
blew up. It's so funny because that song is like 3 years old, but I think it's like
it's
they're finally
crazy.
getting the US recognition. Because, like I said, all of their songs are in German. So they did a cover in English. So now all of these people in North America are like, oh my gosh, who are you? I've never heard of you.
Hmm.
And I'm one of those people. So
I love it.
all right, guys, we're going to jump straight into the TLDR. We just like to summarize the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it. Please know, warning, there are spoilers coming up. If you have not seen this movie, which, what are you doing? This movie is so old. You can
Hmm.
stream it on HBO Max. All right, let's get into it. So, it is very evident that Robbie Hart, played by Adam Sandler, is just incredibly good at his job, which you can probably guess by the movie title. He's a wedding singer. So he just knows how to woo a crowd, even step in and rescue a disastrous best man speech. At the reception hall that he works at, he meets the beautiful Julia, played by Drew Barrymore, who has just started working as a server there. Now, Robbie is set to get married to his longtime girlfriend Linda, and Julia is just stressed about when her and her long term fiance can just set a date for their wedding because it's been a while. When Robbie is left at the altar and Julia finally gets to go ahead to plan her wedding, the two actually become incredibly close. Robbie knows all the ins and outs of the wedding industry, and he helps Julia just navigate it, helping her find, a florist and all those things.
Yeah.
As always, feelings start to get involved when the two share an unexpected romantic kiss. And then
Oh.
tensions rise, though, when Robbie learns that Julia's fiance has been cheating on her. He decides that he's just going to do everything he can to impress Julia and get her to take him seriously, even by getting a respectable job. But of course, that just all goes awry when communication wires get crossed. Julia and Robbie just have a big blowout, and it's really sad, honestly. Julia decides to just skip having a wedding entirely and just get married in Vegas. And then when Robbie learns that Julia has had feelings for him the whole time too, he catches the first flight to Vegas to stop her, not knowing that they're on the same plane. With the help of some really great flight attendants and even Billy Idol, Robbie declares his love for Julia 38,000 feet in the air, and the two get married and live happily ever after.
Aw.
So this is a 1998 film written by Tim Herlihy. I hope I said that right. And he has pretty much written and produced every single Adam Sandler film,
Yeah.
like with the good ones being The Longest Yard, Little Nicky, and Mr. Deeds. And then this movie was directed by Frank Karachi, who you also know from many Adam Sandler films like
Hmm.
Waterboy, Click, and Blended. So it's just a whole team here, and it's so funny too because you see in the movie the people that Adam Sandler collaborates with a lot, like Steve Buscemi is in
Hmm.
there.
Yes, he never lets his squad go without a check. He's always like,
Yep,
if I'm making money, we're all making money.
we're
And
all
that's
making
what I
money.
love.
We all getting
Exactly.
paid.
I love that about him.
Yeah, it's
And
really great.
also the director Frank Karachi and the writer were both college friends at NYU of Sandler, and him and Harley also lived together. They were roommates at NYU, and
Aw.
he wrote a lot of his SNL sketches. So they've been buddies since the beginning.
Oh, really? Okay, so it goes all the
Yeah.
way back to college. Do you have
Hmm.
anyone from college that you're like, you know what? We could collaborate and make like a whole business out of what we do together. Do you have anyone like
Oh
that?
yeah, my one of my best friends, Ro. We've
Mhm.
always been. People have told us multiple times. They're like, "There should be a TV show about you guys." We're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But in our heads, we're like, "Let's just like we make up stories all the time." So we collab on like a lot of just like stuff.
Mhm.
We have trouble writing it down. That's our
Oh
problem.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's hard to like get get everything down. Something
Exactly.
something interesting I learned about this movie. So you know Rosie, the old woman who Robbie is giving singing lessons to. So
Yeah.
Betty White was actually considered for that role, which I thought was really she would have been
Oh
great.
my goodness. Oh yeah, hilarious. She would have needed way more lines if it was Betty White. Way bigger character.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. What else you got for me?
I love the friendship in this movie. I mean, Drew Barrymore credits Adam Sandler for her success in the late 90s, early 2000s,
Aw.
and has even dedicated a chapter in her book to him. And I just love that. And it all started with this role. Like she met with him being like, I think we'd be great in a movie together.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happens that his writers were writing this. So once they got Drew Barrymore on board, they started tweaking a little bit more so we could get her perspective as well. So it wasn't just Sandler's POV, it was both leads'
Mm-hmm.
perspectives. And I love that because you really get a balance and you get to learn both leads, which is really
Yeah.
special.
Exactly. Like we always talk about rom-coms where like they get together and they don't know each other, but I feel like
Hmm.
they spent some time together in this
They
one.
do know each other. And you could tell that Adam Sandler knows himself a lot in this role. He says that he was inspired with Robbie's character like through his own heartbreak that he had recently had. So he
Mm,
took a lot of that sadness into this, which I mean, so many artists do. And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate them all for it because it just makes them all better. And this role is really what led him to more dramatic roles too, because this is what like Paul Thomas Anderson said of kind of led him into Punch Drunk Love, which led him into Spanglish
Mm.
and Uncut Gems.
Oof, Uncut
And
Gems.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh my God, I love,
such
love, love.
a
I was
good.
him for Halloween.
Stop.
1 year, yeah. I was him. I love it.
It's
Yeah, so if it
great.
weren't for like this emotional, sweet role, we wouldn't have some
Mm.
of like his best performances.
Honestly, though, like those are some of Adam Sandler's best performances. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I love old. Okay, so my favorite movie, and I'm biased by Adam Sandler, is Big Daddy because
Oh, just same.
yeah, okay, because he is wearing a Syracuse shirt through the entire movie, and
I
hello,
think
alma mater.
I thought about you because then I was watching clips of just like Adam Sandler stuff to prep for our conversation today, and
Hmm.
noticed that now that I know you, you're like a Syracuse alum. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, so is he?
Every
Amazing.
single scene for all of our listeners who haven't seen Big Daddy, every single scene Adam Sandler is wearing a Syracuse shirt. He reps us hard. I love it. I love it. I love
I
it.
love it.
Do you have anything else for me?
Now let's get into time capsule, Kendra.
All right. All right, guys, we're gonna jump into time capsule. We just recap where we were, what we were doing when this movie came out. So again, this movie came out in 1998.
Hmm.
So I was six. I don't know about you, Mercedes, but I was six when this movie came out. So I think that was like first grade. And let me tell you, I just have my entire memory from my childhood is very, very vague. It's a whole thing. So I think the one thing I remember from first grade is I walk into class. I don't remember if this is the first day of school or just like some random day, but this girl Shayna looks at me and was like, "Why are your lips so big?" And is
Oh
if
my
anyone's ever seen
gosh.
me, like I have very big lips, but the thing is they've always been this size. They were never small when I grew. They were always this size. And so I remember that was kind of the starting point of me being very insecure about how big my lips were and everything because I got teased for them a lot.
Oh
But
no.
now I think they're my best asset. And also, like, you have people like the Kardashians paying to have lips like mine. So,
Yeah. Half the world is paying to have lips like Kendra. And oh my gosh, it's crazy how those tiny little comments stick with you for so long.
forever,
Yeah.
right? Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's so crazy. What were you doing? How old were you?
Oh my God, I was 2, so
You were
I
two.
have I was a baby. I have no memory of this, but I'm from a big Adam Sandler family. I call my dad Catholic Adam Sandler because if you look at young Adam Sandler, you look at young pictures of my dad, they look very similar. And
Really?
I grew up watching just a ton of Adam Sandler movies with him because my dad's such like a bro, you know? um, and Big Daddy, like I urge everyone if you haven't seen Big Daddy, watch it and be like, okay, so that's what Mercedes's times with her dad were like. That's like
Yeah.
that's who raised Mercedes, okay? A little more high strung than his
Hmm.
character, but all the activity is very similar.
Okay, okay, there you
Yeah,
go.
so I'm from a big Adam Sandler family. Like I said, I dressed
Mhm.
up as Uncut Gems Adam for Halloween.
Mhm.
And it was like Halloween 2020, so I just stayed in my apartment the whole time. Like I wasn't going anywhere. And like my brothers, they're big Adam Sandler people. Their favorite movie is like Punch Drunk Love. So we all love it. And yeah, so I don't have memories of like when I first saw it, but I have a lot of
Mhm.
Adam Sandler memories. And this is one of my closest friends' favorite movies, Alyssa. So I have to shout her out because every time I watch it, I think of her. I feel
Aw.
like her name should just be Julia Gulia. She loves it
Yeah.
so much.
That's so funny. You know, this was actually my very first time sitting down and watching this film all the way through, if you can believe it.
Wow.
So I have seen this movie in completion, but never from start to finish. I have
Hmm.
seen scenes and I have been able to piece all of those scenes together because I watch Comedy Central a lot because like my favorite show is South Park and Comedy Central
Yeah,
just plays South Park on repeat, but sometimes
it
they'll
does.
play yeah, they'll play comedy movies and they do a lot of Adam Sandler. Like they had a whole Adam Sandler month. And so this movie was on a lot. So I've seen enough clips to piece it together and understand what the movie's about, but this was my first time just like sitting down watching it from start to finish. Isn't that crazy?
It's such like a TV movie, like on a Saturday
Mhm.
afternoon when you're like, let me look what's on cable.
Yup. And you select this one exactly.
Yeah.
Do you remember who you like had? I mean, you were two, so you didn't have a crush on anyone, but
Yeah.
do you remember the first time that you saw this?
Okay, so I don't remember the first time, but I've had a lot of memorable times watching it. And I
Hmm.
will say, like, obviously I was two, so I don't remember who I had a crush on when I first watched it or anything. But I will say it's a great movie to watch with your crush.
Oh, yeah?
Especially if you're crushing on a guy out there, and because I think guys just really gravitate toward it because they're like, oh, it's an Adam Sandler movie, whatever, and then it ends up being so sweet, so they
Are you
really
speaking from
like it,
experience, Mercedes?
you know. I mean, maybe,
Yeah. Oh,
maybe.
okay, okay. We'll leave that a mystery, listeners. All right, guys, we are going to jump into the Rom-Com Hall of Fame. But,
Yeah.
of course, Mercedes, we got to roast this film because it was 1998. There were some things that did not age well. And
Hmm.
I'm curious what you think.
Okay, so I think my main things are, when Robbie's heartbroken and it's his first wedding back, and he does kind of that insult marathon around the room of being
Hmm.
like, we're all unhappy and we're all ugly. And I don't like that. Like, it made me really sad. And I think, like, the digs at the guests are just not my favorite.
Hmm.
And also any of the like jokes about the bandmate George and George's gender representation just
Hmm.
don't fly with me and make me uncomfortable. I mean, this was a trans woman who has passed in the last few years recently, and Boy George has actually like praised this performance of George because it's such a good tribute. But I don't know, I don't like any gender identity or any identity jokes that are framed in a type of othering.
Hmm.
And there's no like blatant cruelty, but the fact that this character is just supposed to be perceived as just like a comical character because they're different from everyone else just doesn't isn't my favorite.
I understand. See, I thought they were taking it as like because they couldn't sing, and they would
Oh,
sing one
okay.
song and just repeat that song over and over. And because
I love
Robbie has
that.
that line where he's like, we gotta get him a new song." Like, but I completely understand where you're coming from. I think for me, this is so crazy. So you know at the bar mitzvah how everyone's just grabbing each other's butts.
Yeah.
Okay, and then before that,
Yikes.
there's a scene where Julia's walking past and she's holding a tray, and an old guy just like grabs her butt and gives her a
Hmm.
thumbs up, and I'm just like, it's so crazy to think that in middle school, that's literally how we used to say hi to our friends. Like we would just go up and slap them on the butt, and that was
What?
totally
We
normal.
went to
I
very
know.
different middle schools.
Okay, okay, okay. We went to different schools. Where I went to school, that's literally how people just you just did that to your friends. You just went up and
Hmm.
you slapped their butts, and it's just so weird because it's like, hello, consent. Um, and to think
Yeah.
to think that we used to do that, it makes me so uncomfortable now because I remember I had a friend do it recently, and it just sent a shiver through my whole body. I was like, why did you just touch me there? Like, that is not okay.
That's actually so true though. Like the amount of just like non-consensual just like touch that happens when you're growing up and you I don't know, I think now there's a lot more language around it being like please don't like touch me at all, like
Yeah.
get out of my circle.
Yeah.
But I think especially when we were younger that definitely wasn't there for us, like the language wasn't there for us to really verbalize like why it was making us uncomfortable.
Exactly, exactly. I thought something else that's just kind of on the lighter side that didn't age well is like Glenn comes in and he's like, I got you a CD player. It cost me like $700. Like a CD player that
Oh
costs
my god, yeah.
$700. Like, okay, my car still has a CD player, but my car is also
Same.
the age of the same year that this movie came out. It's a 98 Honda Accord. And I just think,
Amazing.
I don't even know if they make cars with CD players anymore. Like,
I have a 2009 and it has a CD player.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So that they do, but it's
Who
really
knows
funny.
anymore? We're
Yeah, I
definitely
know.
not. We're not newer cars, you and I.
That is $700 CD player. I've never heard of such a thing.
I know, and it was huge.
What is your favorite quote from this movie?
Oh my goodness. So my favorite quotes have to do with Julia Gulia. So, um, Robbie saying Julia's last name is gonna be Gulia. Julia Gulia. That's funny.
Yeah.
I love it so much. And then I love later when when Julia's looking in the mirror on her wedding dress, she's like, "It's nice to meet you. I'm Mrs. Julia Gulia," and then just
Mhm.
bursts into tears.
Yeah.
I
But that's
love
really
it.
sweet when she's like, I'm Mrs. Robbie Hart. Do you do that with,
Mhm.
I mean, I know we have different views on marriage. I'm curious when you have a crush on someone, do you ever do that? Just like put their last name on your name or anything like that?
Um, I used to when I was younger, but I like my name so much. It's so long and original that I always joke that I would just add a hyphen if I got married.
Yeah.
Like add another.
See, we are the opposite there. I think the reason I don't like my last name, I think my name goes like Kendra Okereke goes really well together,
Yeah.
but I always cringe when someone attempts to say my last name. It
Oh
just
yeah.
I've always had bad experiences because I think I've had one person in my life get it right, and it was someone from Ireland, surprisingly.
Love that. I mean,
Get
they
it
have
right
some
in
of
the
the
first place.
hardest names to pronounce,
Yeah,
so
they
they
do.
get
So I
it.
think they're used to it. But like I think I would just love to have I would just like to go through the rest of my life with an easy last name because it's been rough out here. Like
Oof, I get you. I mean, I am from the land of no one pronounces my name correctly on the
yeah.
first read. So,
Yeah.
whenever it happens, I'm shocked. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank you."
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You do that with Demota. She like killed
Yeah. Yeah,
it.
she said it amazingly. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Okay, so my favorite quote is actually when Robbie is sitting at the bar with his friend. His friend says, "What I'm saying is, all I really want is someone to hold me and tell me that everything is
Oh.
going to be all right." I really
Mhm.
like that quote because, as you know, I have a Facebook group for people who identify as late bloomers. And we've been talking about skin hunger in the group because it's something that I feel like a lot of us are experiencing. And for anyone who doesn't know what skin hunger is, it's basically this longing for physical touch from another human. So we as humans are designed to be touched by other humans and feel like skin to skin contact.
Mhm.
That's why like when a baby is born it's so important for them to feel like skin to skin contact. But skin hunger is something that actually a lot of prisoners experience when they're in like solitary
Oh,
confinement and there's like
wow.
yeah, but it's also like something that chronically single people like me experience
Yeah,
like
especially within a pandemic, like that
yeah.
just is elevated even more.
Yeah, especially like at the beginning of the pandemic when like I couldn't even see like my brother or sister-in-law or any of my friends. I went like
Mhm.
6 months without touching another person, and that was just really hard.
Wow.
Like no hug, no handshake, no nothing. So if you guys can today, listeners, give someone a hug because you don't know how badly they need it.
Yeah.
But I'm just like I really want someone to just hold me.
Skin hunger is such a good phrase because I've heard touch starved, but that feels so intense. Like that whole
Yeah.
phrase just almost feels a little violent.
But yeah, skin hugger, it's a thing.
Aw.
So, all right, Mercedes, if this movie popped up on your Tinder feed, would you swipe left or would you swipe right?
I'm swiping right all the way. This movie
Okay.
is gentle and it celebrates empathy and compassion in both the leads, and I love that. This and Ever After are my favorite Drew Barrymore movies, so
Aw.
it's up there for me. And this is one of my favorite Sandler performances, so of course. And yeah, it's just such a pleasant surprise
Hmm.
to watch this, especially if you watch with like an anti-Adam Sandler person. Show this to them, and they'll get a different side because it's such a character-based story. So you're
Hmm.
learning, and I mean, I'm learning more and more as we do this podcast that those are the stories I like more across genres and mediums, really, because it just feels so personal and the closeness, and you get like a different type of closeness with the characters. And this
Mm.
movie really just like celebrates finding the extraordinary within someone's ordinary. Like these are very just
Aw.
normal people, day to day people, but they're
Yeah.
finding such a big love from one another. And that's so
Mhm.
special to see.
It is very special, exactly. Like I love that Robbie, like they made that character someone who's not afraid to be like, you know what? No, I want to be in love. I want to have a house.
Yeah,
I want to have that whole fairy tale thing because that's usually coming from the female character. So it's nice to have
exactly.
a male character talk about that. So with that
Hmm.
being said, I would swipe right as well. I just feel like this is a start to Drew and Adam's like love chemistry. Like they just have such a strong chemistry. And
Yeah.
also one of my favorite rom-coms is 50 First Dates. And I feel like
Aw.
this movie was what kicked off 50 First Dates. And
Definitely.
I could watch that movie forever. It is so funny to me and it's so
It's so
great.
funny.
It's so great. Exactly. All right, guys, we're gonna jump straight into couples therapy. Mercedes and I just love to give some dating advice to the couples on how they can improve their relationship. So I feel like I really love how Robbie has just always looked at Julia. I feel like he
Hmm.
looks at her with such admiration and respect. And I just hope going into their marriage they can uphold those values. I read somewhere to just never judge a guy based on the first date because they're trying really, really hard on that first date. Like I think like third or fourth date, if you make it that far, is like a good place to kind of actually understand a guy's intentions and demeanors and all that
Hmm.
things. And honestly, I wish I had read that before I dated my ex because he gave up trying to impress me real quick. Like literally after the
Oh
first date,
God.
it was like, okay, I'm not putting in any effort ever again. And I remember talking to him about it and he was just like, no, I'm okay. And I wish I had been okay with that.
First dates are nerve wracking. They are, but they're
Yeah.
also super fun because getting to know somebody new is so exciting and
Oh
asking
my
them a
God.
bunch of questions.
You say fun, I say nauseating. Like I get so I remember my very first date that I went on was like a little bit after I moved out here back in 2014. I had to take a shot before it was in the middle of the day. It was like
Hmm.
a noon lunch and I had to take a shot cuz I was so nervous 'cause I hadn't been on a date since my sophomore year of college. So I was just so nervous.
I mean, I've definitely been the same, taking a shot before.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you just need it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. So what okay, I just feel like too I hope that they learn how to communicate better because a lot of this
Yeah.
movie was just like things that were left unsaid and wires crossed and thinking something was happening when it wasn't. And so I
Hmm.
just hope, and a lot of that was circumstantial, but I do really hope that they improve on their communication and being very direct and saying exactly how they feel and what they mean.
Yeah, I mean, totally agree with you. I think my advice for them is really just continuing that path of mutual support and care. These are
Hmm.
two really caring people. And what I love so much about Robbie and Julia is right when we meet them, they're already laughing together. Like their
Yeah.
first chat by the dumpster, they're laughing. And it's not comedy for the audience, it's comedy for each other. Like we
Mm-hmm.
get our laughs through like how goofy the 80s scene is, and
Mm-hmm.
like through the typical like Sandler like shouting out of nowhere, like
Yeah.
but their conversation, they're making each other laugh, which I think we it really emphasizes that there's a lot of joy within their chemistry and
Hmm.
and it also shows their ability to listen to each other,
Yeah.
because to really laugh at what someone's saying, you're listening.
Hmm.
And yeah, like they're both rooted in kindness. And I think that just elevates as their bond grows. And something I love about them is that Julia also doesn't need to teach Robbie anything. Like he's not
Yeah.
like the boy man we see in a lot of movies that's like heartbroken but also just like needs to learn how to like be an adult. Like he
Hmm.
is an adult and he knows what he wants, but she's helping him like get back to who he was before his heartbreak. And that's so refreshing to see. So I think
Yeah.
my advice is just like continuing to like grow old together, like the
Hmm.
song he wrote for her,
Oh, so
and just
sweet.
yeah, maintain all their like really earnest and endearing qualities.
Hmm.
Their relationship is rooted in friendship, and I just hope that builds and builds.
Absolutely. And I think there's something really interesting that you said about how Julie didn't have to teach Robbie anything. And I think it's because they give each other what they need in terms of love language.
Hmm.
So I feel like Robbie gives words of affirmation, which makes sense because he's a singer. But
Yeah.
he's really good at writing his feelings down, as you could tell from that ending song of like, I Want to Grow Old with You. Like, that is one of the sweetest songs ever.
Yes.
And I feel like he needs acts of service. And I think what hurt him about Linda, his ex, was obviously her not showing up, but also just
Yeah.
like that's what he needs. He needs someone who will just show up and be honest about their feelings for him because he has never been dishonest or hid the fact that he wants that kind of fairy tale love, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Hmm.
feel like that's his. And then with Julia, I feel like she gives quality time, which is like part of what Robbie needs as well. And they got close by just going to different venues together and just talking all the time. But she needs words of affirmation because I say this a lot with the rom coms that we've done in the past for cities, but I just feel like we watch a lot of rom coms where the main female character just needs someone to stick to their word and do what they say they're going to
Yeah.
do. And I feel like that's the same with Julia, right? Like she gets engaged to Glenn and she's like, okay, so are we getting married? Can we set a date? Can we do like she's asking all these questions. It's like I need you to stick to your word. I need you to make a decision and stick to your word and do what you say you're going to do. And Robbie is definitely that person for her. So I do think they're
Definitely.
meant to
He's
be.
very reliable.
Hmm.
Yeah. I kind of had it switched like backwards for both of those. So
Okay.
it's interesting. I love our viewpoints.
I know.
So yeah, so I said Ravi needs words of affirmation and quality time because I think he needs a lot of reassurance after this heartbreak. And
Yeah.
both Robbie and Julia had this goal of like being married and in love. And I think they were really forcing this whoever they were with at the time, like forcing that love to carry through that person, even if
Hmm.
that wasn't really the person that they were best suited for. I think he gives acts of service because I don't know. We see him through the whole thing. He's performing at these weddings. He's giving free lessons for meatballs. Like that is so adorable.
That's
He's
very
helping
sweet.
plan Julia's wedding,
Hmm.
and something you mentioned before is just like how he loves these typical, these wedding hobby, like all his hobbies are really like geared toward love and romance and weddings, and that's really
Yeah.
the antithesis of like Glenn's toxic masculinity, which I really love, and it's so refreshing to see in a leading man, especially I think
Hmm.
in the 90s too. I think we'll probably seeing it a little more now in the more contemporary rom-coms,
Hmm.
but a couple decades ago I feel like that was still pretty rare to see a really like soft guy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you always get like those super macho. I mean, that's why you had kind of the same guys playing leads like Matthew McConaughey
Yeah. Mhm.
and all these
And
other
also good
guys.
to know, we've talked about this before, the nice guy thing. Robbie never describes himself as the nice guy. He just
Exactly.
is kind and is genuine. He doesn't need to hide behind this nice facade because
Yeah,
it means nothing. His actions say it all. And I think
exactly.
Julia gives words of affirmation and needs quality time. We see
Hmm.
her open up and get more comfortable with Robbie through their time together. And really, through quality time, she realizes the qualities she loves about him that are actually priorities to her that she realizes that she needs in a relationship. And
100%.
she has this ability to make even like the saddest version of Robbie smile. And I think that's just so special.
Yeah.
And that's important. Like, she cares about him even at his lowest, you
Hmm.
know?
Exactly. That's really hard for some people to do, right?
Hmm.
I think it can be hard for people to hold space for others when they don't know what it is that they need. But even
Definitely.
just like showing up and being there, even when you don't know what that person needs, that is like most of the battle. And that is so
Totally.
appreciated. And I hope anyone who ever shows up for people not knowing exactly what they need, but they're like, hey, I'm here if you need anything. You are a real one.
Hmm.
So with that being said, Mercedes, do you think this couple lasts in 5 years?
Yes. They're so wholesome and so precious.
Hmm.
And they're supportive and enjoy each other's company and make each other laugh, which are like the basis, I think, the foundation of a really strong relationship. And I appreciate that neither of them are cynics either, which I think you probably appreciate too.
Oh
Like, we're not
yeah.
seeing cynical love here, and we're not seeing anybody really fight this love. So I
Mhm.
think since they both love love, and this is a story about two people who really just like want a long term relationship, and they finally found the qualities that they need
Mhm.
and rightfully deserve. Yeah, I think they're totally together.
Ditto. You took the words right out of my mouth, as always, Mercedes. I think these two are made for one another, so I definitely see them lasting until they grow old. It'll be very sweet.
Yeah.
All right, guys, it's time for Heartthrob. I am
Yay.
curious, Mercedes, of everyone, all the eligible bachelors, all the guys in this film, who would you take home to meet to introduce to your friends, your family, your loved ones, all of that?
Okay, so I said that I would love to take Robbie home, but I would take
Yeah.
Robbie and Julia to just hang out with them and like hear about how growing old together is going. Like, I would
Aw.
just be like, okay, so tell me about it now.
Yeah, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. I agree, but I also, I like to switch it up on you, Mercedes.
Yes.
So I said Billy Idol.
Iconic. Iconic.
He's in the last scene of the movie, and he's just randomly in first class with Robbie. I just feel like he was so cute back then, and that accent, it's so funny. I actually think a lot of my friends would be very, very shocked if I ended up with an American. Like, very
I think
shocked.
I would be shocked too.
Really?
Yeah.
I think that's something that I heard that a lot over just this past week, especially, but I've heard it
Mhm.
throughout the over the few years I've been like solo traveling. People are like, Kendra, I don't think you're gonna end up with an American. Like, I'm gonna be very shocked. And it just came
Yeah.
up last night too that they're like, yeah, you're gonna end up with someone who's like European or whatever. So I mean, I'm not
Totally.
not mad about that.
I mean, yeah, that would be awesome. I think it's so great when you see like a blending of different cultures like that too. Like
Mhm.
someone like an American and then someone from a whole different country, like you're really learning so much about them. And that's so nice to see because there's so many different mindsets and opinions that come into it. So,
Exactly,
be
exactly.
love.
I may have asked you this before, Mercedes, but like, where do you see yourself ending up in the world?
Like location?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I want to live a thousand places and 100 things. I That's one thing I'm always like I should run away. Like, and no matter where I am, and also I'm a fully grown adult, I can just go somewhere. But and no matter where I am in the world, I'm always like, maybe I should just run away today.
Yeah.
Like that's how I am. So I mean, I always have trouble with that question because I'm just like, I don't know. I want to be everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I feel like this year I'm hitting the countries that I feel like I could potentially see myself living in. So like I went to Ireland back in January, early February, and then I'm heading to Denmark again in a few weeks, and then I'm
I
gonna
love
do
Denmark.
yeah, it's great. I'm gonna do the Netherlands and Belgium for my birthday because I have a lot of friends in the Netherlands, and I'm like, I
Oh
feel like
my
I could live
gosh,
there.
I love the Netherlands.
I know. I'm excited to go. I was supposed to go for my 28th birthday, and I'm doing Germany in August. And so I feel like all of these places, I'm like, I could see myself living these places. So fingers crossed. Everyone say a prayer for me, listeners, that I meet someone on one of these trips.
I think you like have to end up in Ireland. Like I don't think you have
Aw.
another another option. Just like for the amount of love you have for it, I'm like,
I
yeah, of course,
know.
that's your place.
I do have a lot of love for it, and people on so Irish people that follow me on TikTok have been like, "You are an honorary Irish girl," and I was like, "Thank
Aw.
you so much. That's all I want." All right, guys, we're gonna play Mary Smooch Ghost. This time we
Yeah.
have Robbie, Glenn, and Sammy.
Sammy is the limo driver best friend, the one who
Yeah.
says he just wants to be held.
Okay. Okay. Who would you marry? Who would you swooch? And who would you ghost?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I think I'm gonna marry Robbie.
Hmm.
I think I would spooch Glenn. He's not bad looking.
But he's such
But
a dick.
he's such a dick, but I mean, it's just a kiss. So,
That's true.
like, there's nothing riding on it. And I would go Sammy just because he weirds me out.
Oh really? Okay, okay. See, I'm gonna switch it. So I would marry Robbie, obviously, hopeless
Yeah.
romantic, just like me. I would smooch Sammy because I think, like, I also just remember his character in Big Daddy, and like I said, one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies.
Iconic.
Yeah,
Iconic.
and then I would ghost Glenn because honestly, being an F boy is not cute. It is not. I'm not even cute enough to kiss for me. I'm like, nope,
Ooh.
not attracted to you at all whatsoever. Okay, I do want to switch Sammy out with Billy Idol though. So if we were playing Mary Switch goes with Robbie, Glenn, and Billy Idol. Who would you?
I think I would. Yeah, I would. I I might marry Billy Idol. That'd be
Yeah,
fun. And then
yeah.
I'd smooch Robbie, and then I'd ghost Glenn.
Billy Idol has never been married. Fun fact. So,
Oh my
maybe you could change his
goodness.
mind.
He might be a little out of my age range, but just a tad.
He is 66. Yes, he is 66 years old. So you are right.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, I think I would. Okay, so I'd still marry Robbie. I would smooch Billy Idol, and I would ghost Glenn. All right, guys, before we wrap it up, we always love to just bring in a pop culture moment. And Mercedes
Yes.
is your pop culture girl. She has all the facts for you. So tell me what you got.
Yeah, so this is actually a bit random,
Yeah.
but in recent years, there's been the resurgence of the mullet. And like, I think
Ah.
since the pandemic started and a lot of men started growing their hair out, you'll see them a lot. I know, like, when I was living in New York, I saw them a lot. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh, goodness. And I noticed that the bassist from 5 Seconds of Summer, Callum Hood, currently has the same exact haircut as Robbie, which is so funny because in this movie, like, they're really like making fun of like the kitschy 80s setting. Like, it's so elevated and it's
Hmm.
used as like a comic relief. Like, all of their costumes are just so gaudy, and like even like the hair, everything. Besides Julia, she's very toned down.
Yeah, she
But
is.
yeah, like, so it's so funny that we can see this cringy trend from the past resurface into something like cool and edgy again. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I just love the trend cycle. I love when stuff like that happens and it's a little jarring to people.
I will say Julia's sister, all of her outfits, I live for them. So
Hmm.
people, you know how you always get that prompt of like, if you could go back in time, what time period would you go to? As a black person, there aren't a lot of time periods I can pick, but I always
For
pick the
real.
80s. Like I'd love to be a teenager in the 80s because I would have Molly Ringwald on my wall. I say this all the time. Rob Lowe would be my
Yes.
heartthrob, and just those outfits are everything. So
Oh,
Julia's sister's outfits
bravo.
are iconic in here.
Also, their house, their pink and purple house, that's my
Yeah.
dream. That's my dream.
Yup.
Like, catch me in that house in like 10 years. I'm being honest. Also, Linda, Robbie's ex, if any Real Housewives of Salt Lake City fans are out there, she looks oddly similar to, she looks like she could be like a young Meredith Marks.
Huh.
And Kendra doesn't know who I'm talking
I
about,
don't
but
know.
but that's okay. They do look weirdly similar.
Interesting. So, okay, do you remember the kid at the bar mitzvah who got rejected by that girl and he was like sitting down all
Yeah.
sad and then Julia dances with him later? So, that kid is the same actor who played Bruce Bogtrotter in Matilda. And his
He's the
yeah,
cake
the
boy.
cake boy. So his name is Jimmy Cars, and I looked him up. He is so freaking cute now. Mercedes, I
Oh,
was not
really?
expecting that. Yeah,
Oh my
he's
gosh, I
like
have to Google him after this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Google him. So he like, I don't know if he's currently a medical student or he was a medical student. He like does medicine now, so like he's
Nice.
smart and he still has all of
Make that
those
money.
freckles. And I'm kind of a sucker for freckles. I really am. I think they're so
They're
adorable
so cool.
and
I've never had
yeah.
freckles. I've always been so jealous.
I wouldn't obviously wouldn't want them. I think I'd look weird. But I admire them on other people. But he still has all those freckles and he's very cute. So Jimmy Cars, if you are listening to this, feel free to slide into my DMs.
Okay, I looked him up. You know, uh,
Not impressed.
he go for it, Kendra.
I just thought it like he just looks so different from when he
He
was a kid.
definitely
So,
leveled up. I will say that. But also,
yeah.
he was a child here, so any child's goofy.
Yeah.
Um, also, if you're anything like me and obsessed with the Grow Old With You song, it's definitely one
Mhm.
of my favorite original songs in a movie that's not like like not a traditional musical, but a music movie.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my original songs or favorite originals, and it's on
Mhm.
Spotify. And also, this recording of it on Spotify features Billy Idol's intercom moment. So at the beginning, it starts with
Oh.
that, and I have it on my 13 plus hour love song playlist. It's called Twirl With Me on
Aww.
Spotify, and I love it so much. So it's definitely on there.
Wait, okay. Is that playlist like you actually dance by yourself? Because can I tell you, Mercedes, anytime I'm in a romantic space when I go and travel, I will just start like I will pretend I will romanticize my life and pretend that I'm in a rom com. So for example, when I went to Estonia, I went to like the parliament. They have these beautiful gardens around their building, and
Ooh.
it was like 6 o'clock and no one was out, and so I decided to just like walk through, and it was Christmas. The whole field was lit up with Christmas lights, and I just started dancing by myself, and it was really cute. And I'm
I
like, does
love
anyone else
that.
do that?
I call it twirl with me because I think twirl is like the loveliest verb. I think it's just so pretty.
It
So
is.
yeah,
It
so it's
is.
just a bunch of love songs, and I listen to it all the time. Like it's basically like a rom com playlist.
I love that. Well, listeners, you have to tell us, do you have a rom-com playlist? Have you seen The Wedding Singer? Who's your favorite character? Who would you marry? Who would you smooch? And who would you kill? Make sure to slide into our DMs at me cute. As always, I'm Kendra. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Ken10Hollywood.
Yes, and I've been Mercedes. You can find me at MercedesGV11 on Twitter, IG, and TikTok. And if you're looking for new rom coms, follow Meet Cute wherever you listen to podcasts and follow Meet Cute on socials everywhere. Bye, everyone.
We'll see you next week.